Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 12th June 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The Gandhis, Mandelas and Kings of Today. This is the article that we are talking about. This is taken from the Hindu, and this is regarding the killing of George Floyd, the protests afterwards, and how discrimination is a way of life across the societies in the world, and what we should be doing to handle this and what is happening right now. That is the structure of this editorial. Now let us understand the background of this article and let us talk about the killing of George Floyd, a black man from Minneapolis, Minnesota in United States. So let us have a brief background. What happened was on 25th of May 2020, George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, was killed in Minneapolis and Minnesota, United States. This was because he was alleged of a counterfeit bill, that is just a $20 bill. So Derek Chauvin, a white police officer, knelt on Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes. Because of this black man, George Floyd, was killed. This horrific incident was picturized by people who were in that vicinity. Many onlookers and the man himself pleaded the police officer to let him go because he was choking. Despite those calls, the police officer refused to step down, and this has led to his death. Because of this inhuman act, there were many protests across the world. All the 4 police officers who were involved in that incident were fired the very next day after videos made by witnesses and security cameras became public. So, post-mortem reports of Mr. Floyd's death declared that to be a homicide or a murder. So, this murder has led to demonstrations and protests in more than 75 United States cities and also around the world against police brutality, police racism, and lack of police accountability. So this is a fundamental question of human rights and discrimination across the world. So the author of this article points out how the entire US society has came out against this discrimination, and he compared it with the way of life which was propagated by the ideology of Gandhi, Mandela, and he is comparing it with the protesters of the present day, and he called them the kings of the day. The author of this article points out that this COVID-19 crisis couldn't have come at a better time for this introspection, because this George Floyd incident is a reprimand that whenever we are trying to invoke global level icons like Gandhi, Mandela or Martin Luther King, we have to take a look at what they propagated through their life. They were always questioning their own conscience whenever injustice happened. So this is what is responsible for their glorification as icons of human rights. So in this context, what we have to learn from these leaders is the fact that we have to question our own prejudices, our own inactions and ignorance. Whenever we see injustice, especially with respect to human rights, we have to question our conscience and question our silence. That is the key takeaway from the leaders of these lives. Now, how would you do that? How would you understand the concept of human rights? What exactly is human rights? See, to simplify the idea of human rights, what we can say is anything that is associated with the survival of human being can be termed as a human right. The other day there was an argument that Manrega should not be treated as a right to livelihood or right to work rather than a privilege, because not every person is able to work. There should not be a right. That is the criticism offered against Manrega. However, we have to see that right to livelihood is an intricate part of right to life. That is the fundamental right enshrined in our constitution through Article 21. So this is a human right because it is closely related to our survival. Now, whatever a person tries to do with his own body or how he wants to nourish it, express its potential, that can be termed as a human right as long as it does not violate other humans' right. Therefore, the right to education, the right to empowerment, the right to express one's own sexual preferences is also a part of this human rights movement because of this conception. So, in this context, if we extrapolate this idea of human rights onto a global level responsibility and apply it to the present situation, right now, blaming China for its opacity will not solve the problem. That is just a part of the problem. If we shift the entire blame of the spread of coronavirus and the epidemic, it is a part of the problem, not the entire problem, because this coronavirus is a result of man-made activities itself. Therefore, anthropogenic activities or the business as usual approach should be changed right now. So this business as usual approach should be stopped even when we are talking about societies, because ultimately it is the societies and the prejudices that evolve that will create this idea of inequality. This inequality will lead to exploitation, and this exploitation will eventually manifest itself in the form of unprecedented anthropogenic activity and the pressure it induces on environment as well. For example, the richer nations will continue to exploit the environment indiscriminately, and this will lead to a burden felt by low-lying island nations who never saw this level of industrial development or did not even enjoy the fruits of this industrial or materialistic development. So this is a time where we have to focus on human rights, environmental life, and we have to ensure that the different societies and different injustices prevailing across the world should be addressed, because today, more than any other point in the history of our time, we are living in an interconnected world. Therefore, we are not just talking about the injustice against this inhuman act of killing a person just because of the prejudice within the officer. When we are talking about democratic institutions, we have to talk about how these universal values of justice and indiscrimination should prevail across the world. So how do we do this? By taking the ideals of Gandhi's, Mandela's, and all the protesters who are protesting today. This is an example of and case study as to how we should ensure a sustainable, equitable world in these times. That is the gist of this article that is relevant for the exam. The second aspect of the editorial discussion today, it's the second article taken from Live Mint, and it is called "The Future's Call is to Work from Anywhere and Not Just from Home." So this writer, Jasprit Bindra, is a technology specialist, and he would be talking about how technology is going to impact society. So this can be one aspect of your essay, or even you can reflect this understanding in your science and technology applications. So applications of science and technology, this is an important article, and all the articles written by this writer will be very useful. So how is the world going to change in the aftermath of this COVID-19 crisis? So one of the first impacts that the global economy faced is working from home. So it has reduced the dependence on workspace, and homes became the workspace. So is working from home possible for every sector? The author believes that work from home is relevant in software industry or wherever it is possible. Even in other sectors, the norm in the future would be decentralized production and working from anywhere, and technology is going to harness this decentralization drive. Tech giants like Twitter has said that work from home is permanent right now, and Tata Consultancy Services, which has a gigantic workforce, 75% of that workforce is going to be working from home in the next few years. Even Facebook has announced that it would make sure that half of its workforce would be working from home in the next few years. So, in this context, we have to realize that working from home is a trend that is not just relevant for IT industry. Even before COVID, a significant amount of IT employees were indeed working from home. So what this COVID crisis has actually done is it has catalyzed this process of working from home and thereby reducing the cost for various companies. Even in the pre-COVID world, there were a lot of companies where employees might travel to a central office for occasional meetings and appointments, but predominantly they were not working from office, but they were working from home itself. So does it mean that the entire office culture is going to end with this? The author does not believe so. He quotes these reasons for his observations. Firstly, there is a need for a human touch which will be found only in offices, and it is very difficult when we are away from each other. Therefore, offices are here to stay, but there will be a significant change in how it will be manifesting itself. There is a rise in cafe culture where certain places or public spaces which can be taken for rent will be used as office spaces, and people can go there and work. So instead of saying work from home, what it actually means, you can work from anywhere. The impact that it will have on urbanization is the fact that you don't have to travel from one end of the city to another. You can just go to your local workspace, take a rent. Probably it would be subsidized by the company, or it would be a monthly rental based model, so that it gives you the comfort of an office and the peace of mind which you may not find at home sometimes. So these rented office spaces might come up. Also, what it will do for the city governance is it will reduce the traffic, it will encourage adoption of public transportation system. Less and less number of people will buy cars unless and until it is required. There will not be any congestion within the city, because not everyone would prefer now to migrate to cities because of this reason. It is going to be a fundamental shift in our urbanization patterns as well. There will be more even growth spread out across the cities. So this co-working spaces concept will also significantly increase according to this author. And finally, he believes that we are transitioning from a work from home only environment. That is, he means that this work from home concept will eventually move to work from anywhere. The companies would be interested only in productivity. So you can, this anywhere can be your home, it can be an office, it can be a neighborhood park, a close by coffee shop, or even a co-working space. This is what the future of work has in store for us. And what pandemic has actually done is fast forward this process. So it will impact our urbanization, our way of life, and even our societies. Probably you can imagine equitable growth by ensuring that towns from which a lot of software professionals are migrating to cities can also see this culture of co-working spaces, and thereby it will also reduce the cost of their own living standards. For example, if we want to rent a space in one of the plush areas of Mumbai, that would cost a normal middle class family somewhere between 15 to 25,000 or even 30,000. Now instead, if the person prefers to stay in his own hometown, where the cost of rent will be somewhere between 5 to 10,000, that would be saving a lot of money for the individual as well. Also, it would reduce the cost of the company, and it will also make development, the idea of development itself, very conducive for our environment, and sustainable lifestyles will be promoted. It is because of this unplanned urbanization itself we have seen various problems, as in the case of 2015 Chennai floods, where buildings were built in riverbeds, thereby blocking the passage of water, which has resulted in this massive flooding. So all these consequences, keeping in mind this work from home concept and the concept of work from anywhere has been catalyzed by this pandemic. This was due to come, but this pandemic has only hastened that process. In this context, we have to note that this will have an impact on our society and urbanization patterns. That is the key takeaway from this article. That's it for the day. Thank you.